Hakioi listeners, let's learn sumo. I'm Clayton. Welcome to the podcast. Don't forget to join me on X, Twitter, or Instagram and YouTube, or certainly your favorite streaming service for the podcast. YouTube, there's a few video episodes. 2024 ended with a bang in Fukuoka, and 2025 January Basho is now upon us in the next few days. So we'll have a look at what happened in 2024 and what we expect to see in 2025. I am joined by my special guest, Goose from the Sunday Morning Sumo Show on YouTube and Discord. Sunday Morning Sumo gives you Goose and JJ. Poor old JJ gets up at about 1 or 2 in the morning in Canada. And occasionally a special guest. They do 15 days of live coverage of the Bashos, English commentary. Look, some of the English is probably pretty questionable, but it's a good time. Some
Whoa!
excellent.
And thanks for having me.
Yes, welcome, Goose. Hope you had a good Christmas and New Year.
Yes, I did. I had a lovely time. Hi, I'm Goose from Sunday Morning Sumo Show. Subscribe to us on YouTube, where we do all 15 days of top division, and apparently I'm terrible at it, is what I got from that. But no, thank you.
Yes,
Jokes aside, appreciate you having me on. It's always good for a chat.
Hopefully, January, I can join you once or twice. My travels around the world in September and November made it a bit of a challenge. Punching out an episode in front of Milford Sound in November was an interesting experience. I think I got eaten alive.
Fair enough. You have the keys to the stream room. You're welcome on whenever you want.
Yes, thank you, sir. So let's get into what happened in 2024. Obviously, November. What did you make of Kotono Waka Kotazakura, as he is now known, finally notching his first Yusho win in November?
I was very excited. There's really the simplest way to put it. The chatter around it I found more interesting than his actual win himself, because it wasn't until 2 Basho ago he went 8-7, and people were talking about, is he going the way of Kirishima? And then 1 Basho later, he goes 14-1. First person to do that since our current Yokozuna, and people are saying, well, he gets promotion, right? So that I found absolutely fascinating.
I think the dominance he showed in November was probably the change. I've been fairly critical of him this year in terms of I think some of the things I saw, and I kind of went back and watched some of his losses, and I maybe I've changed my mind a bit about what I think his weakness was this year, and I thought his weakness was around maybe a lack of strength. I actually think he sometimes lets himself or gets himself into a position where they get under his center of gravity and drive him back. I think it's more of that than a lack of strength thing.
The thing about him is that he does put up 10 plus wins consistently. And it sounds simple to say, but he's always been 1 or 2 wins away from a John Yusho or a Yusho. Yeah. So really, he just finally had a tournament where he goes up against the best of the best, and it not wins the coin flip, but comes out on top, when otherwise it's 50-50 who could win that, because they're both so incredible wrestlers, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's no more of a coin flip now. It's more, that's what they want to see. They want to see a dominant Yokozuna.
So he finally got 4 of his toughest matches in a row to go his way, and that's all he really needed for a Yusho.
What do you think's changed? What do you think is the strength that Kotazakura now shows?
I don't think a lot has changed. He's one of the most remarkably consistent Rikishi I've ever seen. He will stand there and withstand everything you have, kind of like Takara Fuji, and just be an iron wall. But the difference is he's huge and just better than everyone.
Well, he has a very large frontage, which is quite squishy.
Yes.
It takes a bit of the hit out of it.
I think the only thing that it's been very incremental things that have changed. He's getting stronger. His conditioning's better. He's getting more and more match experience with sparring and his training. It's all very minor things, and then having more match footage to go over. Just the longer he is in pro sumo for every 15 days, he's just getting better.
It's interesting. He and Hoshoryu this week in the Yokozuna practice, Yokozuna Deliberation Council practice they had yesterday, day before. He went up against Hoshoryu, I think 13 matches, and he lost to Hoshoryu 10-3. which is interesting. I mean, you can read into that what you will, but it's interesting that he went down so much. Maybe he's just not willing to put too much into it at this close to a basho.
I know that I wouldn't be trying to win every match in like
Mm,
a ceremonial practice thing because I
yes.
don't want people to know what I've been trying to improve on. I
Mm.
would be using that to get a feel of my opponents.
Yeah, fair point. Interestingly, I think, as I said, he got driven out a lot of those times he lost in the last, 6 or 8 months. But they've been where he's missed a grip on the belt or he's missed something that he's tried to get at, and they've taken him off balance and used that against him. Um, that being said, I see him either winning or Jun Yushoing in January, and I see it's extremely likely to see him Yokozuna by March.
I I would love to agree with you, but I
Mm.
actually am pretty hesitant because I don't think he wins the Terunofuji rematch, and the Ono Sato rematch is too much of a question. And those are two losses that I can see happening minimum. And then of
Mm.
course the incremental ones throughout it, like how does Hosharu go, how does Daisho go, things like that.
Mm. Mm.
Um, there's
And
enough of a threat. There's 4 people that can Yusho right now. That's why I'm hesitant to say he gets it.
he's what's he, 2-2, or he's 3-2, I think, on Osato. 4-2, sorry, on Osato, and from what I can see on my spreadsheet. So Onosato, lost by Watanabe in November. I don't think he's got that much to worry about there. I mean, it's going to be an interesting fight. It's going to be a difficult fight. I think Onosato, usual things when you get promoted to Ozeki, all the media stuff and makes life hard. But anyway, I think he's a very good chance, and certainly, as we know, the Yokozuna Deliberation Council said that if the roles are reversed and Hoshoryu wins at say 14-1 and Kotozakura loses at 13-2, they've given themselves an option to promote the pair of them actually. So that's interesting. An interesting comment, I thought.
Uh, high heights. I would love that. I'm not sure it's happening though.
3 Yokozunas in March. Oh,
I
speaking of our Yokozuna, I mean, he seems to be indicating he's going to come back in January. He's had obviously his diabetes and his hip and knee injuries.
I believe it was announced he's coming back.
Mm,
He was
mm.
he was at the training and he was competing. I believe it's I I'm gonna stake my credibility and say it's official that he's coming back.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he hasn't appeared since July when he won the U show.
No, and
On
he's
that,
never missed 3 in a row.
yeah, on that, I mean, given he's only really appeared in 2 full bashos this year, he appeared in March for a short time. Was it 2 bashos or 3? Let me have a look. He Would he appear in January and you showed March? He went Cujo after day 6. May he went Cujo after day 1, and then July he you showed. I think I mentioned it on the podcast the other day about he is getting a significant advantage about rank protection when he's away for so long. I mean, you and I would go at some point. It's a very Australian term. He's taking the piss. He's kind of using the system a bit too much, and they haven't called him on it. What are your
Uh,
thoughts there?
well, to keep up the cultural slang, I think it's unfair that he gets to go walkabout so much.
Mm.
It's to the point where it's actually starting to bother me that now that we have 2 people that can make Yokozuna that are looking very promising, and then he gets 6 months off and gets to come back and compete again when these guys have had to do every single match, sometimes some Toru Oshii rematches as well,
Plus
plus
the
all of the training, plus all of the Junyo tour work.
Yep, yep.
It
It
is
is.
genuinely unfair the schedule difference that they've
I
had to
mean,
have.
I think I'll be a little bit upset if Terunofuji comes back and you shows and knocks that pair out of Yokozuna contention on the basis of him having 6 months off. I think that would be most unfair.
If he does that and then retires, though, it would be kind of interesting. Where it's like, look, you guys just can't beat me no matter what. I'm going home.
Well, I
Right?
certainly think if either Kotozakura or Hoshoryu get up, or both of them get up, I think you'll find the Yokozuna Council might give him the hint that maybe now's the time if he doesn't take it himself.
I was like with the Yokozuna question, I was thinking about that today actually, and because like as you know, there's almost no maths on my show, it's all just vibes based.
Yep. Yep.
What I realized is that I found it easiest to say Yokozuna Ono Sato over the other two, which is just how I feel about it and is based off of nothing. But that makes the most sense to me.
Oh, I think he's in time. He'll get there. I think what what I've seen in the last few months is someone who is incredibly talented, incredibly strong, has some pretty good techniques, but just on occasion shows some little tactical areas, just tactical errors through what you might call just a lack of experience. Just a few moves. I think he tried to Tatari Tamawashi with someone at one stage, and it was just a funny move. It was just unnecessary, and it caused him to lose. And I think those little moments are things that he'll pick up. He's certainly got the strength.
I noticed that some of the things, the main thing that I noticed with his 9-6 was that during his 13-2, he was actually able to get a lot of wins moving backwards. And a
Mm,
guy that large, you don't expect to be able to move backwards that fast and step out of the way. Kind of like how Abi pivots just at the last second. He was
yep.
able to pull off some of that.
Yeah.
What happened this time, and the Hirota match and the Takanosho match are the ones that stick out in my mind, is he
Mm,
was moving backwards, but he didn't have the distance that he had before.
mm, mm,
So because they were right on him as he's moving backwards, that's bad sumo, and that's why he got pushed out or dropped.
mm.
So there was like 3 or 4 matches where he tried, oh no, I'm losing. Let's try the defense strategy. Oh wait, the
Yes.
defense strategy didn't work.
Yes.
If
Yes.
I
And
noticed that, his coach noticed that because he was a Yokozuna, and now they're working on that, and I think he's going to come back pretty strong this time.
I think we'll see less of the going backwards.
Kisano
So,
Sato. I don't know how I forgot that for a second. That's why I said coach. Anyway, I'm back.
Yeah. To go to the other man in that chance, Hoshoryu. Hoshoryu now with the retirement of Takakeisho is pretty much old man Ozeki. He got promoted in 2023, so he's certainly the oldest Ozeki and the most consistent there now. And he's very consistent at punching out these big numbers.
25-year-old old man Ozeki is a
Yeah.
fascinating thing to think about.
Yes. And certainly he had his, I think he really had his murder face on, I think, in November. It didn't entirely go right for him at, hang on, no, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong sheet. 13-2, sorry. His, you know, loss to Kotazakura in that last match, I don't know that it was a bad loss. I think it was just he lost his footing at one stage as he went for a belt grip. The thing that won that match, I think, was Kotazakura. And you might look at him and go, he's a big fat man. But I tell you what, his quad strength in a position where Kotazakura was in deep trouble, you could see he used every ounce of quad strength to push himself up. And that just left Hoshoryu nowhere. He was in an awkward spot as Kotazakura's hips went back and left him there.
Mm. Hoshoryu, I would say, and people can absolutely argue me on this, is the best out of everyone not called Terunofuji.
Mm.
He is capable of dominating people in wins that no one else can. The problem is he gets relaxed and thinks he's better than everyone else, and then starts losing matches he shouldn't. And then when that happens, he turns on the afterburners and goes on a streak and starts dominating again.
Yeah, I mean,
He
he's got the techniques, he's got the strength.
he's the only person I've seen actually throw Kota Nowaka.
Mm. Mm.
Well, Kota Zakura, I believe he's called now. My
Yes.
apologies.
I think I've
Yeah,
heard a few
he hip throw
commentators
him.
use it.
Yeah, he hip throwed him with a Watanabe, I think, to the ground. Only guy I've seen do that.
Mm.
Only guy strong enough and talented enough to move such a dominant frame. So I think when it's kind of like Shodai. Like when he looks good, he looks amazing. But the problem is he doesn't always look good, and I'm not sure why.
Oh, here you go. It was back in July. He threw Kotazakura. It was a Kubanage,
Interesting.
which was certainly a throw.
Nage
And
does mean throw.
yes, look, I think he's an incredibly and certainly I think he's the strongest way. Headlock throw is the official term for a Kubanage.
Right. Okay.
I think his strength. I have always said I think he's the strongest man in the field, um, and certainly at the moment when he's healthy, I don't think anyone could beat him for strength. And
Hmm.
if you look through his kimarite over even over the last year, it is just a smattering of all different types of techniques and throws, leg trips, pushes, everything that gets him there in the end. And they're not, you look at some guys, kimarite, and they're Yorikiri, Oshidashi, Yorikiri, Oshidashi. I mean, Daisho, Sukadashi, Sukadashi, Sukadashi.
You ever looked at
Um,
Terunofuji's list?
uh,
That's a fun one.
yeah, what's the weirdest one he did? He's got a few popular ones.
222 wins by Yorikiri.
Yes, yes,
Second highest, 58 Oshidashi.
yes. I was looking at Midori Fuji's there, and I think Midori Fuji's something like 50 or 60% Karasakashi wins. It's some incredible amount. And Sumo
That's
DB being
beautiful.
down is the sumo world is in disarray, as Sumo DB has been on and off for the last couple of months.
Someone pay that power bill, please. But
Yes.
there was a beautiful moment when we were doing our Banzai review with JJ,
Yeah.
and I refresh the page and see that it crashes mid show, and I hear JJ go, "Yeah, because he went." It's like, oh, broke for you too, huh?
Yes, it's. I think I listen to a lot of podcasts, and it's amazing how many of them are like, "Sumo DB's down. We're gonna have to do this off the top of our head." Like,
It's the
well,
best resource when it's up there.
yeah. I mean, a kind of secret for my viewers, I do keep a spreadsheet of all the fights as we go through, and I try and do a little description of every fight. You can't do this podcast and the commentary and all that without trying to keep your own sort of running sheet about how things happen for all the wrestlers. And it is a lot of work, but I tell you what, it pays off when I get to the end of the year for a fight of the year episode, and you're trying to pull all these fights and work out of 1,800 bouts.
I've got
Um,
it up now though. 72 Karasakashi wins for Midori Fuji. That's his most prominent way of
yes,
winning.
that's not bad. I did see in November there was a lot of people winning by Karasakashi. I saw a few in November. There was a few hits there, or
That's
recently, I should say.
trends I see. Maybe it's just a confirmation bias, but every bar
Mm.
show there's a uncommon Kimarate that suddenly becomes common.
Yes.
Like there was one where we were seeing 3 Henkas in the one day, and it's just
Mm.
Henkas are in right now.
I must say, Hankers weren't in November. They were a little bit sparse in November. There we go. Hiradumi got Karasakashi by Arby.
Makes sense.
Yes. Wakataka Kage also Karasakashi'd Hiradumi just in November. Poor old Hiradumi. He had a shocker in November. We won't go there. Moving on, fight of the year. Those who haven't seen it yet, there is a YouTube video episode I did just before Christmas of my fight of the year. I also included Kimarite of the year, the most memorable moment of the year, a couple of what did I say, brutal fights and things like that. The Kimarite of the year, fight of the year, I've got 3 fights there that were my top 3 fights. Spoiler, we will be discussing it here. If you haven't watched it yet, you can go to Let's Learn Sumo on YouTube. Do any fights particularly stand out for you, Goose, over the year? Ones that, maybe not the best fight, but ones that you really remember.
I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge like you of all the fights. I'm probably forgetting some, but the two that that I remember watching the most was the same one as you, Wakataka Kage versus Ono Sato,
Mm,
because Wakataka Kage is my favorite wrestler by a lot. I just think he's fantastic. And watching, I think it was 11 wins in a row by Ono Sato, just the
mm.
absolute hype train getting derailed by the guy who came back from a broken knee was. I fell out of the chair, quite
It,
literally. You can
and it
see it
wasn't
on the show.
it wasn't just the hype train that got over, that got which it did, it got derailed, but it was the way Wakataka Kage did it, and how his recovery over 3 three areas of that fight where he was in. Anyone else would have lost. I think the first time he goes back to the bales, he got driven back to the bales on Osato style. He recovered and moved laterally around the bales. He ended up getting a double rear belt grip as Onosato tried to swing around and then tried to slap him down Hatake Komi. He somehow didn't smack the ground with his hand and got back up, but he was in a really bad position, and Onosato again drove him back to the bales and tried to Yorikiri him out and bent him back over the bales. Somehow, and I've watched this fight many, many times. I don't know. I mean, I know how he did it. He got two hands inside, rear belt grip. I don't know where he picked up the strength to pull Onosato around him. Onosato was just absolutely flabbergasted that he lost it.
It was an absolute nail biter. Just high octane beauty, just the glory of muscle, that kind of match. And yeah, that was the most excited I got all year, because like I watched the next best thing get tested and stand proud against Wakataka Kage, and it was just thank you. That's why he's my favorite. That's why he's my boy.
I think he's everyone's favorite, including Ichi Yamamoto, who lost to his hero. Oh no, he beat his hero, so
they are one. Here's the thing, right? My favorite is Wakataka Kage. JJ's favorite, my co-host, is Ichi Yamamoto. Ichi Yamamoto's favorite is Wakataka Kage, and they're 1-1.
I know. I'm hoping they meet again this tournament. I think Ichi's down around, make sure 11 or so. He'll have to fight well to get himself up. No, he's not that low. Where is he?
He's M6. He's at his career high.
That's right. He got a bit of a bump after his 8 and 7 from Magashira 10. He's up to Magashira 6 West. Look, he might meet Ichi Yamamoto. He might meet Wakataka Kage at Kurmasubi if he does well, if he gets a few wins up. I seriously think Waka will make Ozeki this year.
When he was originally Sekiwake, I actually didn't think he could, because I thought he was great, but I didn't think he was Ozeki great. Now that he's come back and put 3 Makauchi 10 wins in a row together, 10 plus, plus 14-1 in Juryo, Sakokurai is a good coach. Okay. He took 2 third division boys and said, "Welcome to the Sanyaku."
Yeah. And Wakamoto Haru, I've always been a fan of Wakamoto Haru, but I think my only thing about Wakamoto Haru is has been that, like we said about Kotozakura, sometimes it's a 50-50 sort of coin flip. But I think in November, what I saw in November is he seems to have gotten a bit more consistency back in that defensive technique where he gets driven to the bales, he uses the Tawara bales to his advantage, gets his grip, and seems to be able to get past that defense now. It didn't work with Kotozakura and Hoshoryu in November, but certainly I think, it didn't work with Onosato and Kotozakura, I should say, and Hoshoryu. So he's still got a bit of they've worked him out in the Sanyaku, but I think I see improvement from him, but I actually think Wakataka Kage will make Ozeki before Wakamoto Haru.
I see it. It's possible. For me, Wakamoto Haru was, Wakataka Kage's injured. I guess he's the next best thing. And the second he came back, all right, thank you. That was fun. Thanks for keeping the seat warm.
You know what I'm really excited to see is Wakataka Kage and a healthy Terunofuji.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
Like you're talking strength, speed versus, extreme balance and movement and strength from Terunofuji. So to me, that'll be quite a matchup. And Hoshoryu versus Terunofuji will be, to me, a pretty good matchup as well. Hoshoryu's picked up a lot of experience, maybe improved, like you said, improved his psyche a little bit about how he goes about it, maintaining his concentration. So should be an interesting battle there for Wakataka Kage. How do they beat him? Look, I don't know how you beat Wakataka Kage. I think getting in fast and early appears to be the only way to do it, and hard. So that should be interesting. The next one was I had was the best Kimarite. I called it for the November bout, day 14, Kirishima versus Hoshoryu. The Suridashi lift out a more humiliating way. I don't think. Well, actually, there is a more humiliating way to lose, but that was a pretty humiliating way for Hoshoryu to lose, to get lifted 150 kilos of him.
Stop picking my answers. Stop. I was even gonna say humiliated. No, you couldn't be more spot on though. Like that is again, I'm probably forgetting stuff from January because it was a long year. But even though Kirishima's going through some stuff, that's still a very competitive head-to-head. That's still a former Ozeki to not just beat but dominate your opponent in that way while you yourself are on a Yusho chance. I think he was 11-1 at that point. It was just like it was. Oh, oh, it's going down to the wire, huh? Like these guys are looking in peak form.
I was just like, I don't think I've seen a Suridashi in Makuchi for. I just don't remember the last one. I'm sure it has been not that long ago, but for two senior guys to pull one of that off, for Kirishima to let himself get in that position to be Suridashi'd, I think is probably the most disappointing thing. I'm sure there's defenses to it, and he just didn't pull any of them out.
Well, if you picked my answer, I'm gonna have to go with the complete opposite. Ichi Yamamoto against Oho, I believe, going for 7 Hataki Komis in a row while running backwards, doing a full semicircle around the bales, and then losing anyway. Was one of the most entertaining attempts at a Kimaharte I've ever seen.
When was that one? I'll have to go back.
I'm going to have to dig through time, but I believe it was against Oho.
I think it was earlier in the year, and I haven't got Ichi's sheet up to date, so I'll have to go and rely on a bit of history there.
Because I was laughing my ass off, and then Abema did the slow-mo, and I got to see it even better, and he's just flailing and slapping shoulders and running backwards.
An excellent loss. Not January. It'll be March or April, I think. No, let's try May.
Could have been Hiradoumi as well.
Yeah.
I'm not
anyway,
certain.
It's I'll go and I'll find it for you for the next commentary.
Thank you.
When I get there. So moving on, there were a couple other fights that I chose. One of them was Wakamoto Haru and Terunofuji early in the year. It was a really good bout. Wakamoto Haru got the win. Yorakiri. He really put Terunofuji under pressure. It was a really good belt battle. If you want to watch that fight, it's on the YouTube. The other one I had that I had as second, and I didn't give it the final win only because of the finish of it. Terunofuji versus the Wiggly, the pink Mawashi man himself, Ura. It was an epic battle. Ura just threw everything and the kitchen sink at Terunofuji, and even at one point made Terunofuji panic.
Ura, the gift from outer space.
Yes.
The only guy that you want to see go 0-15 because you know it will be funny.
But, even in that 0-15, he won't give up. He will fight 1,000% all the way through, even if he loses.
The exact opposite of Tamawashi.
Yes. I think the bit that got me in that fight was Terunofuji, Ura was in low, as he usually is. Terunofuji reached over the back to grab the Mawashi. Ura felt him over the top of him and actually lifted Terunofuji off the ground slightly. And I could see the panic in the Yokozuna's eyes as he thought,
I remember.
That's a bad thing to do. I think I'll give that belt up because I don't like that. But he did. Terunofuji, obviously, Yokozuna, he persisted and got there in the end. But I tell you what, Wiggly Toddler.
A lot of exceptional matches like that, yeah.
Yes. So that was my second one. That's a really good match. Go and have a look at that video if you get a chance. It's on YouTube before NHK knocks it off. Hopefully they don't. So, on to the January Basho. Terunofuji coming back. He's been doing some bouts. Kodazakura and Hoshoryu, a chance of Yokozuna. someone we haven't discussed tonight is on a bit of a drive. Arby. Now, I saw Arby in September when I was at the Basho at the Kokugikan in Tokyo, and I saw him walk out of the gate. Now, obviously, Japanese people are slightly smaller in stature. Arby walked out of that gate, and I can just say he was a man mountain. But certainly, he came good in November with 11-4.
6'2", I believe. There is
Mm.
a beautiful 188 centimeters. It says here. There's a beautiful video on Chris Sumo's channel called "Arby receives 1 ton of onions for winning," which is just an amazing title. But it because you kind of lose scale of how big these sumos are because
Yes.
they're only up
Yep.
against the other giant rickshaw.
Yep.
It's Arby walking through an airport, and he is literally head and shoulders against an entire crowd. It is
He's just a man
fascinating
mountain.
perspective.
Yeah. I mean, seeing him up close next to everybody else, even me, he's a man mountain. And I mean, I've had a friend of mine had a photo taken with Kirishima early last year or something. And my friend is what, 6'2" or something, and he's not a small person. Kirishima's just a monster next to him. He's huge, massive man. And you forget how large these guys really are.
Yeah, Chris Sumo, Arby receives 1 ton of onions is the
I'm
best
gonna have to go
example
and
of how
find that.
big these are because he's in a crowd of hundreds, and it's just there he is.
Well,
Just
Arby is now back in the Joy at Komusubi East. He's a former Yusho winner in 2022. He got 12-3 at Magashira 9. He's got 3 Kimboshi. He's a former Sekiwake in 2022. Obviously had a terrible September 5-10. He's had not a bad year. March he got 9-6. May he got 10-5. 11-4 in November, and like he's really pulled out that Nottawa neck thrust.
I was one of 7 people, I think, cheering for Arby when he showed. Because
Yes, he seems divisive.
he
Yes.
had to people constantly he's so divisive and he doesn't deserve it. He's really good. People discredit his Yusho a lot because he hankered to do it, and they
Yes.
ignore that he won 3 of his 3 matches that night. He won the 2 playoff matches and his
Yep.
1 actual match. One of
Yes.
them was a hanker, the other 2 weren't.
Uh.
The other 11 weren't either, just quietly.
Yes.
But I understand why, if you're a Takayasu fan, why you hate Avi, because he just about broke his neck and had him crying real man tears on the doyo that Takayasu got so close and couldn't do it again.
Oh,
So
I think Takayasu is a crowd favourite. You know, and denying him his first U show, you know, you're never going to be popular.
Yeah, so look, I get it, but shut up. It was 2 years ago. He's amazing. He puts up 10 plus in the Sanyaku. He has one of the most exciting styles. His Shikono last name Masatora means fire tiger. His Kesho Mawashi is a tiger on fire. He's cool.
Yeah,
I love Avi.
I was impressed by him in November. I thought how he went about like real aggression with his Nottawa, really going in hard. I quite enjoyed what he did in November. I liked
Most
the way
definitely.
he's come forward. Yeah. So I think he's still a good chance. Can he do it from Komusubi in the Joy position? He's going to have a hard first week. I still think he's got every chance coming out. He certainly beat Onosato. He beat Hoshoryu. He beat Daisho. He beat Wakataka Kage. He beat Takeda Fuji. They are not easy people to beat, and he's shown he's capable of doing it. So he's a man to watch for the thing. Oh, who's your prediction for January?
Oh, come on, man. This
put your name on the line, Goose.
How about this? Takanosho for Jun Yusho.
Well, it depends which Takanosho turns up.
Currently #1 student, but for the Yusho, there are the 3 Ozeki and the Yokozuna are all possible. Abi is, I believe, is always a sleeper threat of a Yusho if 2 or 3 matches go his way.
Yep.
But
I'm not
Okay,
going to.
going off the Gumby math that we use on this show, it is Onosato's chance, because after a 9-6, he wins the thing. That's
Yeah, it comes
happened
out and he's in
once.
good form. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I don't think Terunofuji is match fit. Therefore, I'm not going to pick him. Whilst he's had a lot of time off, he's lost a lot of weight. I think he's lost something like 15 odd kilos through his diabetes and lack of training. And he's not match fit. He hasn't really gone hard.
To be
For
fair, at
months.
his size, it's difficult to actually maintain that much weight just in general.
Yeah.
You have to specifically eat to stay that fat and specifically train to stay that strong. So, like, losing 15 kilos at 200 plus kilos isn't as significant as for someone like you or me.
Yes. Yeah. If I lost 15 kilos, I'd look great. I'd be.
Me too.
I could fit through a doorway. All right, look, Kodazakura, Hoshoryu, Onosato. I'm going to pick Hoshoryu only on the basis that I saw a change in his mentality in November, and he maintained it throughout the basho. I think that, to me, is the improvement that I've been waiting to see from him in terms of getting through the whole basho, where he's not dropping like a silly fight to Midori Fuji or Tobizaru, the Ozeki wrecker.
And that's what separates the Yokozuna from the Ozeki, is not losing those little ones, you know?
Yes.
But back to Gumby math. 14-1 misses a few. 13-2 misses a few. 12-3 misses a few. If this pattern has emerged, he will go 11-4 and not Yusho.
Yeah. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not.
I am currently rubbing bones
board,
together and staring at the sky, predicting that 11-4. But it is what it is.
I think, throw those bones, because it'll be a real test of Terunofuji in that first few days as to how he feels against a bit of pressure, because he's going to get, who's going to face in the first week. He'll probably face Takanosho, Kirishima, Tobizaru, Atami Fuji, Gonayama, that sort of area, maybe Wakataka Kage in the first week, and Arby. That'll be a hard first week.
Definitely possible.
So,
look, well, that's just the state of Sanyaku right now. It's a hard first week for everyone. Well, that second week when everyone's tired, oh my god.
Yep. That Megashira, that Komusubi Megashira 1-2 position, they're in a rough trot, because you've got a lot of high quality Rikishi up in Ozeki and Sekiwake. One person I have been a little bit interested in seeing, maybe disappointed is probably the right word, towards the back end of the year. Daisho, 8-7 in July, 8-7 in September, 8-7 in November. That, to me, is someone who's struggling to make his technique work.
Nah, I understand. I disagree. Daisho is a perfect Sekiwake. He will go 9 wins. It does matter when you beat him. Like, if someone from the Magashira does beat him, you go, "Ooh, hang on, something's happening here." He's never a Yusho threat. That's okay. He's a Sekiwake. He's not an Ozeki. He, except for 1-6-9, which really is not that bad, he's gone positive for a very long time at the upper echelon of this sport.
Yeah, I mean, that's a plus for him, going, Kachikoshi so regularly. He only had one Makekoshi in March at 6-9. 11 came back strongly, 11-4 with one Fusen win. Look,
he's gone 5-10 twice. Once at M1 in 2021, and once in 2020, both at Sekiwake. Yeah. This dude, I could not disagree with you more. This dude stays afloat at the upper echelon. It's only disappointing because you expect more from him. I don't. I expect positive in Sanyaku from this guy every time, and he delivers, man.
He did have a really good bout in November against Hiradumi, actually. It was one of the better fights. It was an epic Sapari battle
A
between the
threshing
pair of them.
machine,
Yes, a
if you will.
threshing machine, the pair of them. And
JJ
that was
will
close.
not
That
stop
was
saying
close.
that.
It
It
was close to
genuinely
the.
affected my show.
Well, it is like the arms just start moving. I did actually put that one down on my list of fights of the year. It just didn't make the top three. That's all. Probably
Say la
probably
vie.
could have. Yeah, say la vie. Okay, that's it for coming into January. I hope everyone enjoys the tournament. It's going to be a cracker. There is a lot on the line between Kodazakura, Hoshoryu, Onosato, and our returning Yokozuna Terunofuji. Everyone is looking to get up to the top, but there's more at stake for the guys in Ozeki at this time. And Terunofuji trying to back end his career with a Yusho win. Try and stop the up-and-comers. I hope you all enjoy the tournament. Thank you very much, Goose, for coming along. I hope I'll see you on the Sunday morning Sumo show, which will give live commentary and English commentary all the way through the tournament. Goose and JJ, join them on YouTube Sunday morning Sumo. Thank you, Goose.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone. Hakioi. Let's learn Sumo.